Welcome to another episode of Great Talkability. This is episode 3, and I know it has been so long since the last episode. It's been like a month, I think, honestly. And what I think that tells me is that this might just be a monthly thing, because I really wanted to get another episode out like weeks ago, but hey man, it's just not on the cards with how, busy I am at the moment. But yeah, I might make this a monthly thing. Who knows? It's a work in progress. But once again, welcome to Great Talkability, right? It's a pop culture podcast. I talk all things pop culture from, movies, TV, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, even wrestling from time to time. Although I've been thinking about like putting some wrestling, like a wrestling centric, I don't know if it necessarily be a podcast, but like just a video of like reviewing certain wrestling shows, episodes of like Raws and SmackDowns and different stuff. Who knows? It's a thought that I will maybe entertain one day. But yeah, man, we are here in this third episode, man, to talk about Ahsoka, right? Episode 5 that came out this week, which was just quite possibly the greatest piece of Star Wars content I've seen in years since, like, I don't know, man, Revenge of the Sith. I don't know, it's crazy. Also gonna talk about some other Star Wars news, and a few different things, a couple different things. But for those of you, if this is your first time here watching Great Talkability, man, hey, if you enjoy what you're experiencing here, like the video, okay? Subscribe as well if you haven't already, man. I'm trying to get to 200 subscribers, right? I'm at like 183. I got like 17 more to go. We get to that next milestone. Keep this train a-moving, right? So, without further ado, man, let's get into, first off, I'll save Ahsoka for later. Let's get into some different Star Wars news here, right? Which was very interesting. It came out like, was it yesterday? Maybe 2 weeks ago. 2 years ago, Jesus. And it is that the Donald Glover-led Lando series that we were going to get is now a movie, which I was not expecting, right? So I have this piece up here from Variety that I'm just going to read. It says here, news broke in July that Donald and Stephen Glover have been tapped by Disney and Lucasfilm to replace Justin Simien as the writers of a new Lando television series on Disney+, but not so fast. The project is actually being developed as a Lando movie, Lucasfilm confirmed to Variety. Glover debuted as a young Lando Calrissian in the 2017 Star Wars tentpole Solo, which was a notable box office disappointment for Disney and Lucasfilm. I still haven't seen Solo, by the way. I don't know if I ever will, because the idea of it never interested me. Anyway, keeping on with the article here. Stephen Glover first dropped the news of a Lando movie on a recent appearance on the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast, telling the host, it's not even a show. The idea right now is to do a movie. Right now, because of the strike, it's kind of like telephone, all the information. That's all the info Stephen could provide. Lucasfilm confirmed the news afterwards. News first broke of a Lando Calrissian limited series being in the works in December 2020. At the time, Dear White People creator Justin Simien was attached to the project. He exited and was replaced by the Glover brothers, who are developing it as a movie. The character of Lando was originally played by Billy D. Williams in The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, of course. Donald Glover revealed in a video interview with GQ magazine in April that he was talking to Lucasfilm about another Lando-centric project in the Star Wars universe. He said, we're talking about it as much as I can say without Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy hunting me down. What do you say here? Lando is charm incarnate, Glover continued at the time. He's kind of a maverick, which I don't think there's a lot of anymore. It's hard to be the smooth talker nowadays. Where's the line? That's also where the danger is. How close can you get without tripping over it? Glover added, I would love to play Lando again. It's a fun time being him. It just has to be the right way to do it. Time is precious. The past couple of years, this pandemic shit, it really had people experience time. People realize their time is valuable. You only get so much. I'm not interested in doing anything that's going to be a waste of my time or just a paycheck. I'd much rather spend time with people that I enjoy. It just has to be the right thing, and I think it could be. Lando is definitely somebody I like to hang out with. So there you have it, man. The Lando show is now a movie. How are we feeling about that? Because I have thoughts, right? Like, in general, when the Lando series was first announced, like 3 years ago now, right? I didn't really care. Like, I didn't. It was just like, oh, the Lando show. Okay. And so when this news... First, when the news came out that Donald and Stephen Glover were writing it now, I was a bit more interested, a bit, like a tiny bit. I was just like, okay, that's interesting, because I hear, that Atlanta is a great show, and they're like the writers of Atlanta, right? Which I still haven't seen. I plan to watch it one day. So I was just like, okay, with them writing it, maybe this could be something. And then when this news broke, I just sat back and I thought, I don't know if Lando needs a movie, which then led me to the realization that I don't think he needed a series either, or like a spin-off thing in general. I just don't. Right? Like, I think there are certain characters. Not every character needs a TV show. Not every character needs a movie. Not every character needs some type of spin-off project. That's just my philosophy, right? And I don't think Lando is one of those characters that needs one. I didn't think Han Solo was one that needed one, and we see how that turned out. Like, it, as a movie, it got like mixed reviews, right? It was a box office disappointment, and like, I don't know, man. Han Solo is much more of an iconic character than Lando, right? And yet people didn't show up for that. So like, that kind of tells you something, right? Like, thinking about other solo like projects, right? I think the first thing I think of is Andor. And when Andor was first announced, I was just like, what purpose is that going to serve? Who needs this? We know what's going to happen. Like, we know what happens to him in Rogue One. Like, what purpose is there to have an Andor show? He just didn't seem like he needed it. But the show in itself was not really as much about Andor as it was like the full-fledged start of the rebellion. Like, how the rebellion got into full swing, with God, what's his name? I forgot the character's name, but Stellan Skarsgård, his character, and showing all the different attacks and stuff they were doing on the Empire, to make some noise. We had some Saw Gerrera and stuff in there, so like, I understood that show in terms of what purpose it had, right? What purpose, I ask, would a Lando movie, a Lando Solo anything have? Like, what is it bringing to Star Wars? Because I'm trying to think of like any stories they could tell with Lando that is worthwhile, right? Like, I asked you guys who have seen Solo, so I haven't seen it, probably never will see it, by the end of the movie, was it worth it? Like, was it worth it to see the Kessel Run? Was it worth it to see, him, what did he, like, he won the Falcon in, like, a bet with Lando or something like that, right? Like, was it worth it to see all those things? Like, I know there's the whole mall thing at the very end, but that hasn't been picked back up at all. Like, we haven't seen anything with that. Who knows if we ever will. Like, was that movie worth it? And that's the question I ultimately have at the end of the day for a Lando movie. Is it worth it, right? Like, is it going to show how he, got involved with, Bespin and stuff, like how he became like their leader or whatever he was? Is that a story we need to tell? Like, I don't know, right? I don't know. And like, I don't know how box office wise, like, if people are going to care enough. Because like I said, look at what Han Solo did as a bigger character. Is people going to care enough? Are they going to care enough to go see a Lando film? I'm not sure they will, But that's just me, right? That's just like my take on that whole thing. It's, good for Donald, Glover, right? Like, the man is, killing it right now. He was in spoilers, but it's been like, I don't know how many months. He was in the Cross of Spider-Verse for a little bit as Prowler, which was great to see. There was a whole thing. There was like a report like months ago that he was like going to be in a Hypno Hustler movie, which was just like stupid. Like with Sony, giving him a Hypno Hustler movie, which I hope, honestly, I hope the strikes killed that movie, like they apparently did El Muerto, the Bad Bunny superhero movie they were going to do. That's no longer happening. Like, I hope the strikes kind of do that with Hypno Hustler. Just give him a Prowler movie. It'd be so much fun. It'd be so much fun. Yeah. So, and it seems that, Glover is very passionate about the character of Lando. He's passionate about, telling stories with him, whatever story that may be, if it's worthy of being told in like a movie medium. That's a different thing altogether, man. It is. But yeah, Lando movie. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's it's weird, right? Because Star Wars has yet to prove themselves in the movies again. Like, what's the next movie that's coming out? It's not I don't think we even know if it's going to be the Filoni one first or the Rey movie. So, like, their TV shows have been largely good, largely great. You know, there's been some hiccups here and there, and I'll get more on that when I get to Ahsoka. But I hope that when they jump back into movies, right, that it doesn't crash and burn again like it did with the sequels. That's like that's the main thing. They got to prove to us that they can do movies again. I don't know if Lando's going to be, a home run. And I'm honestly surprised. You know what? That reminds me. I'm honestly surprised they're even doing this, because what was it Kathleen Kennedy said like a year ago, right? Where like she blamed Solo's failure on Alden Ehrenreich. Like she threw him under the bus. She was just like, oh, well, we can't, recast classic characters. This is what happens when you recast classic characters. You get failures like Solo, which is just asinine and not even the case of what happened there. I just don't think people cared enough. But to throw it all on him, right? And like, if that's her philosophy, why is this happening, right? If that's your belief, why are you doing this? Why are you making a Lando film? Because this has the potential to go the same exact way as Solo. Why would you do that? I'm telling you, man, Kathleen Kennedy, a lot of times, just full of it. Like, I've seen like rumors and stuff and like reports that, because that's her stance, they won't just recast Luke. They'll just keep doing the whole, deep fake stuff, which looked great in Book Boba Fett, but like, you could tell with his like face when he's talking and stuff, it's just like, it doesn't look good. It looks robotic like that, like when you really pay attention to it. And his voice even sounds a little robotic. Like, I'd much rather they just recast with Sebastian Stan, do some digital makeup to make him look a bit more like Mark Hamill than he already does. Like, that's a whole different other thing. But let's move on, though, to another piece of news. Well, not really news. It's like something else that happened this week. Because it's been a pretty newsworthy week for the most part. And that is the Aquaman 2 trailer. Right? The Aquaman 2 trailer came out today. Not today. Came out two days ago? Yeah. Came out 2 days ago. It kind of got buried. Was it 2 days ago or was it yesterday? I don't remember already. But it kind of got buried in like, all the different hype for Ahsoka and different stuff, right? And honestly, it's not really something I think people are excited for. But I will say this, right? My reaction, which is up on my YouTube right now, you can go watch it. I said in my reaction that it looks like what you'd expect from an Aquaman sequel. Like, it looks just like more of the first movie. And the first movie was largely fun. That second act was like, it was such a drag. It was such a bore, Arthur and Mira's journey through the desert and stuff, like their romance that didn't really feel all that natural, to be honest. It could have just been a chemistry thing, who knows. But like, the first movie is fun. It's not a great movie, but it's really fun. Like, it's kind of what sells you on it. It's just, look how fun it is. Look how fun Jason Momoa is as Aquaman. Look how much fun he's having. All the the gigantic crab monster sea creature, that big underwater fight war at the end of the movie is phenomenal. Like, that's what I watch the movie for, right? Like, if I'm watching it on TV, right, and like, I'm at any point in like that second act, I just want to fast forward to the end, but I can't do it if it's on like, regular TV. But if I'm like streaming it, I'm fast forwarding to that third act and that final battle, because that was glorious, dude. And the colors of the suit, the colors of Ocean Master's suit, the purple glistening in like the rain and stuff, is just, oh my god, it's so good. That's so good. And like this movie, Aquaman 2, right? The trailer, for the most part, looks fun. It looks fun. It does. It looks like it's maintaining that epic fun, watch Jason Momoa do his thing. It like it's carrying that. However, I do have the concern mainly with the comedy, right? Because they've described this as like a buddy cop film with him and Orm, right? And that could go one of two ways. It could actually be really fun, really endearing, really entertaining and charming. Or the comedy could just be, kind of forced. It could be not as funny. It could be really campy. It could be like, I don't suspect it would be this case, but there's always a chance that it could be like, Thor Love and Thunder's level of just camp and so many jokes and just unnecessary humor, It could be that. I don't know if it'll be that. And I bring all that up because what we've all heard from the different, reports and rumors from like leakers and insiders is that this movie is not good. It's not. That's just what everyone's been saying. And who knows, that could be completely off base. It could be wrong, but like, it just, when so many people are saying that, it's just like, dang. And then like, combine that with the fact that we are here in September, right? The movie comes out in December. It's 3 months out. This is the first time we're getting a trailer. That is not a good sign. When a studio waits until like the very last possible window, which is like 3 months before the movie, to release the first trailer, it's just not a good sign. And like all the rumors is that they're trying not to spend like any marketing budget. Like they're trying to keep their marketing budget for this low, right? So that they don't have to spend that much on it, and because they don't believe this movie's going to make money like the first one did. So like when it comes to films in the box office, right, there's the production budget that they have to, make back. And the usual rule of thumb is make twice of that back, to make profit or to break even in the first place, right? And that doesn't factor in the marketing budget, which is often like, an extra 100 mil, 150 mil or so, right? So they're trying to keep that down, allegedly, because they don't think this is going to do well. And the track record of DC, like this is the last hurrah for the DCEU. After this movie, DCU gone into the abyss, into the shadow realm. Goodbye. You were a waste of everyone's time for 10 years, dude. 2023. 10 years. Man of Steel came out in 2013. 10 years of just wasted opportunity after just trying to play catch up to Marvel and not knowing how to do so. And it was just a waste of everyone's time. Like when I think about it, it makes me upset. It's just like, you've wasted all of our times with that. So if you look at the track record, like they're on a bad streak right now, right? Going all the way back to Black Adam last year. Box office disappointment, failure, right? Shazam, Fear of the Gods, abysmal, but major. You know what? I'm about to look them all up right now. I'm about to look just the specific. I'm going to look up right now, and bear with me while I do this. Look up the specific like box office and their budget. Let's see here, Black Adam box office. All right. Oh God. Okay, so Black Adam's box office total 300. Oh God. Okay, 393 million, right? Off of what was the budget? Hold on, what was the budget for this? 393 million. Off a 190 to 260 million budget. God Lord. That range is crazy. I guess they're like factoring marketing as well. Oh my God. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, that was. Nope. Nah. And then it got worse, right? We go to Shazam, Fear of the Gods, right? Which their budget is 125 million. Their box office was 133 million. Jesus. They made no money at all. Like they made nothing. I guess they made 133 million. That was their total box office on a budget of 125 million. I guess they made more than the production budget, but like to actually get a return, my God, they did not do that at all. Jesus. So that was that, right? That was after Black Adam. And there was the whole back and forth with like The Rock and Zachary Levi blaming the failures of that on The Rock. But let's be honest, that movie, it was like, I hate using the word mid because people overuse it, but it was kind of a mid movie, right? and it was just like no one cared. I truly believe no one cared. The DCEU was a dead brand, and it's just like, nah, some people don't care. Then we go to the Flash. Right? Remember the movie that James Gunn said was like one of the greatest superhero films he's ever seen in his lifetime? Yeah, that thing. The one that everyone said was like, oh my god, it's amazing. It's an all-timer. It's the best DC film since the Nolan trilogy, right? Okay. On a budget of around 200 to 220 million. Box office was 268.5 million. Not good, right? Yeah, it's just not good. Not for a movie that people thought. I foolishly thought, despite all the Ezra Miller stuff, I foolishly thought that, Michael Keaton's Batman would help significantly and get it, maybe not to a billion, but like, maybe like the 700s, right? To like the Batman numbers. And that was like the report, is that if they got to around the 750 million mark, they would greenlight a Flash 2. And that they already had a script ready to go. But they got nowhere near that. For a movie that was supposed to be an all-timer, that had so much hyperbolic hype, it did that. But wait, there's more, right? We have ourselves Blue Beetle. Oh, poor Blue Beetle. Like, I don't know if I think they've ended their run. I don't know if they ended their run yet, but Blue Beetle, right? On a budget of 104 million, they've made 114 million. So again, they got over the hump of the original production cost, but like, yikes, dude, it's just a flop. Like, it's been flop after flop after flop after flop for DC. And I've often said it's because like the DCEU is just a dead brand. Plenty of people are just ready to get to the DCU with James Gunn, where, leave the DCEU in the past. And I think this shows. And I think Aquaman 2 is going to be the same way. And it's another thing to consider. All those movies, right? All those movies, word of mouth was not great. Black Adam, like, was not a good word of mouth. Neither was Shazam 2. The Flash, some people were just like, it's a pretty good movie. And I think with all the hype, where people were expecting a great, amazing movie, they're just like, oh, it's just all right. It's good. Pass. On top of all the Ezra Miller stuff and everything else, right? And then you get Blue Beetle. Who the hell is Blue Beetle? No, the average person doesn't know who Blue Beetle is. So why would they go see that movie? Like, why? And then you mix that with the fact that the DCEU, dead brand, and the fact that reviews were just, no one was talking about it, dude. No one was talking about it. It did not hold the cultural zeitgeist for like a day. It was just, it came out and that was it. So, like, I don't foresee Aquaman 2 making anywhere near what the first one did. I don't. I think this is going to be a loss for them. And, I mean, it would kind of be fitting, man. The DCEU goes out on a whimper. But that being said, though, I do think, going back to the trailer, I think it looks fun. It's got some fun elements in it, right? It looks like Black Manta might actually be the main villain this time. He's got like this, what was it? It's like the Dead Sea King or something, like his trident, and like he can control the armies of like the dead and stuff, or like the Atlantean dead. And it's fusing him. It's like he's using the power so he can get his revenge on Aquaman. He wants to, kill him for what he did to his dad from the first movie. And what I hope they don't do, right? Because Black Manta is supposed to be Aquaman's chief nemesis, right? It's Black Manta, then it's Ocean Master, right? I hope what they don't do, I hope to God what they don't do, right, is some like stupid thing, kind of like Shazam, not Shazam, Black Adam, with Sabak, whatever his name was. God, that guy was a terrible villain. Like, I hope with this trident thing that Black Manta has, I hope that it doesn't end up being a thing where like he's using the trident too much. It starts to take over him to the point that he's no longer Black Manta. He becomes the Dead Sea King or whatever, or like it separates from his body and now he gets cast off to the side in the final act, and now it's Aquaman versus the Dead Sea King, not Aquaman versus Black Manta. I want Black Manta to be the core villain of this movie, because in the first one he was just sidelined, he was just in the way. It was just like he just kept coming in, like, go away. It's Ocean Master. Like, I hope he actually gets to have a moment in this film. Like, I hope this film is his, like, he is the main villain of this, right? And honestly, even though it's not gonna matter, I hope he cuts off Aquaman's hand. For those of you who don't know, like, that was a thing in the comics. I forgot what run it was, who was doing it at the time. But I remember that image of Aquaman with no hand, and he had like a harpoon on his hand. I believe in the Justice League cartoon they even did it too, where he had the harpoon instead of a hand. I hope they do that. That'd be nice. That'd be great. Like, it's not gonna matter because the universe is getting rebooted. At least not. It's gonna be who knows how hard or soft the reboot is. There's the whole Gal Gadot thing. Who knows what's going on with that? But just for the moment, just for Black Manta to have something, cut off his hand. That'd be great. Also, I touched on this in the reaction as well, that they show Amber Heard in the trailer for just like a split second, dude. It was so quick. Like, as I was watching it, the thought hit me. I was just like, oh yeah, we haven't seen Mira at all. And then they showed her. But because of how quick it is definitely a sign to me that they are fully aware of the public opinion of Amber Heard. Like, there's a movement to boycott this film because of the Johnny Depp trial and all the things it exposed about Amber. And I know it's not like, I'm not saying 100% everyone in the world is against Amber Heard. No, there are plenty of Amber Heard supporters who, they still support her. They still believe that Johnny is, a terrible person. You gotta be careful with certain terms, that he did certain things to her, that he hurt her or whatever. Like, there's even some people that, like, I regularly interact with on social media, cordially, that think that, and we have a differing opinion. And that's just, hey, we're allowed to have differing opinions as long as we're not attacking each other, right? But I, 100%, I'm on Johnny Depp's side of things. I stand with Johnny Depp. Like, we need to get him back in more movies. Get him back in Pirates, please. That entire trial, from everything I gather from that trial, and I don't want to dwell on it too much, but from everything I gather from it, man, I just, Amber's no, not messing with Amber. I'm not, like, and so I hope that split second that we see of her in the trailer is indicative of how much we're going to see of her in the film. Because, like, in the trailer, they show that, Arthur has a kid now, who obviously he would have had with her. I heard there was, like, a rumor where, like, she was going to die in childbirth, but obviously that's not the case. Because, at least from the way that the trailer is cut together, the fact that they show her fighting, and she didn't look pregnant or anything, and, like, he has the kid, like, it just seems like, I doubt that, she's going to die during childbirth. I think it's just going to be a thing where she's there for, like, the final battle, and that's all you get of her. That's just or, like, maybe at the beginning of the movie, and that's all you get. But I wonder, I'm very curious as to how much the negative opinion of her from a considerable amount of people, how much of that can affect the movie and the box office in general. Who knows with that, man? We'll see. I'm just ready for the DCU. I'm ready for the DCU, man. And I don't know if, like, part of me wants Jason Momoa to stick around as Aquaman because I think he's pretty good, but honestly, Lobo. He needs to just be Lobo. Go ahead. Like, I believe if this movie does make money, unlike the other DCU or DCEU streak of films, he'll probably stay around. But if it lays a goose egg, if it lays an egg, it's probably going to be he's probably going to be Lobo. And I hope that happens. Like, stick him in Superman Legacy, dude. Let him fight Superman. That'd be crazy. Or in, like, Superman or Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. That'd be great too. But yeah, man, those are my thoughts on the Aquaman 2 trailer. It looked fun. It didn't look bad, but who knows, man? Trailer trickery is a thing. That movie could be absolute garbage, right? It could just be like a terribly made, movie with like different plot elements, like the plot not making sense and just being a not good movie. Who knows? That's my thoughts on that though. I'm gonna give a touch of wrestling news for my wrestling fans out there, because I tend to do wrestling videos on my channel, right? There is some wrestling news on the AEW WWE front, real quick. It's pretty big. It's pretty major. And that's the fact that Jade Cargill is reportedly heading to WWE, right? And this was a thing that when I saw it, I was just so surprised, because she is like one of the premier homegrown talents in AEW. Like, they made her into a star. Like she has such an aura, such a presence, such a look. It's just like it's star all over her. She's even said that in public she gets more recognized than her boyfriend, who was like he was a pretty good baseball player from what I understand. Like she gets more recognition now than he does. Like, it's crazy. So I just pulled up this article from Wrestle Talk, the good folks at Wrestle Talk. Go subscribe to them as well. They're pretty good. So according to the latest update, Jade Cargill could be heading to WWE from AEW imminently. As reported overnight and earlier today, the belief is that Cargill is on her way out of AEW with a clean loss to Chris Statlander that was taped on Wednesday. I guess spoilers for this. After Dynamite for Friday's Rampage, likely being her last AEW match. However, there were some question marks on exactly when Cargill will be able to join WWE, as it was unknown when her AEW contract actually comes to an end. PW Insider reported earlier today that Cargill's contract is set to expire as soon as this week, and now there are more details. According to 5 Select, sources within WWE are of the belief that Cargill's contract could be structured in a way that she could sign with WWE imminently. Before any of this news even emerged publicly, Cargill potentially joining WWE was reportedly a topic of conversation backstage at Raw this past Monday. As for backstage in AEW after the match with Statlander, Cargill was reportedly greeted by members of the locker room with hugs with an apparent tone of farewell. While there are many within the company that believe she's at WWE, she has not explicitly said that as far as Fightful is aware. According to the report, she has told people that she may take time to focus on her family and or the Texas Smoke, the softball team that she's husband now, MLB player Brandon Phillips own. According to the report, Jade Cargill is represented by a team that engaged in her business dealings talk. One source indicated that the move isn't financially motivated on Cargill's part. It isn't financially motivated. That's key. I'll get to that. That's key. Just a week ago, Cargill said there was no other place she wanted to be but AEW. Funny. Yeah, that part right there, where like one source indicated that the move isn't like financially based. Like, it's not a financial thing. I think that is just indicative of the state of AEW's women's division, which notoriously is not booked the greatest in terms of like how much time they have on TV to present themselves and do their thing, right? Like the average women's match is like under 10 minutes, and like Jade Cargill during her reign as like TBS champion, all she did was just like a bunch of different like squash matches and stuff. Like, she never had an opportunity to really show what she could do in the ring. Maybe they believe she just is not good enough for more than squash matches, but like, how will you ever know if you don't give her a chance to do so, right? And like, there weren't a lot of great storylines for her during her reign, and she really should have gotten in on the whole Outcast. The whole Outcast. It was like the Outcast versus the AEW homegrown talent. She should have been involved in that mix, because like, she is the premier homegrown talent in AEW. Like, it's crazy. So that definitely, I think that if that is true, that it's not a financial thing where she believes she'll get more money from WWE, it's because she does not like how she's handled in AEW. She's not liking how the women are presented and handled, and that she thinks that she can become a bigger star. If I had to guess, I think she thinks she could become a bigger star in WWE, which is true. Like, it's a bigger platform, it's a bigger brand. Like, when you're in WWE, you definitely get propelled to like certain levels. Like, they will, especially if they invest in you, they will have you out there for like all to see, right? Like, just at the Wall Street thing with like the merger between WWE and UFC with the TKO Holdings thing. Like, with that whole thing, they had Bianca Belair and Montez there. So like they will put you on a platform where people know who you are, and I think that's great for Jade. I've seen people say that she should. I've seen people. I've seen people say that she should go to NXT. I don't. Nah, man. Like I think she's bigger. I think AW. They did a good job at presenting her as a star. I think she has that star aura that if you go to NXT, I feel like it would diminish it greatly because the NXT that we have now is not the NXT of old. Like it just isn't, right? It if it was the NXT of old, I would say definitely do it, but like nah, especially in that small ass performance center where like the presentation is just so small. It just looks like the kitty corner in there. Even though like I love NXT, I love the work they do on like storylines and stuff. It's pretty good. It's not for everyone, but I think it's pretty good. The only way I think the only way I think she should go to NXT, right, is because right now Becky Lynch is the NXT Women's Champion. If she was to go to NXT, beat Becky, but not stay in NXT, no, take the NXT Women's title to the main roster, and join. I've seen this idea out there. Join the faction with Bobby Lashley and Street Profits. And like she's going back and forth between NXT and main roster to where like she has eyes following her to NXT for the ratings, and plus, she could even defend the NXT Women's title on main roster, kind of make it sort of a mid card women's title because let's be honest, the women in WWE in the main roster, they desperately need a mid card women's title because there's so many women, so many talented women, and not enough time, for them to be involved in everything. Like I think that would be an amazing idea. Have Bianca also part of that faction, and like have it kind of be like a I think it would be great if it's like an impending clash. Like they're both alphas, right? They're both alphas. Bianca's definitely an alpha. Jade's definitely an alpha. Have a thing where it's like simmering. It's not like there's clear that they both want to kind of be like the bigger name, the bigger star of that faction. And like it's a tension that they can build over a year, 2 years even, to an impending clash between those two within the faction. I think that'd be great. Like if Bianca was to be women's champion, and then Jade wins the Women's Royal Rumble, and it's just like, oh man, like what's gonna happen there? That'd be great. That'd be great. But that's the only way I could see her. That's the only way she should go to NXT. That's the only way. Like any other way, don't do it. Go straight to main roster. But that's my take on the whole Jade thing. Now, we have ourselves the main course here. And that is Ahsoka. Episode 5. Shadow Warrior. Oh, man. Obviously, spoilers. I'm going to spoil this. It's been like, what, 3-4 days? This episode, I did drop a review on my channel, but I'm just going to talk about it more, just what it means for Star Wars right now, what it has done, and just the different aspects of it, man. It's just, number one, Hayden Christensen's return as Anakin Skywalker, right, it was a thing of beauty. It really was. And like obviously we had him in Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? We had him in that flashback. We got to see a little bit of his face in that final fight between Vader and Obi-Wan. But like this was truly his return as Anakin. And like I don't want to use the word redemption because redemption implies that he was at fault for the prequels and his character in the prequels, right? Excuse me. A lot of people back then completely tore him to shreds about how much he couldn't act and all the other, this, that, and the other. I was not one of them. Of course, I was a kid at the time, so what do I know? Bad acting from good acting. I don't know. I just thought he was great. I loved his character. Like I fell in love with the character of Anakin Skywalker from the prequels, not the Clone Wars, the prequels. Loved them. And of course, getting older, you go back and you watch them. It's like, yeah, it's not the best, but truly, I think, is because of the script and the directing. You know, like I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio, who was like, one of the original choices for Anakin, I don't think he can even make that stuff work. Not to say that the prequels don't have, great dialogue in moments in the script. They absolutely do. Especially Revenge of the Sith. There's some iconic Star Wars lines and moments. You got Padme. This is how democracy ends, with thunderous applause. Like you have the whole conversation between Anakin and Palpatine. The whole meme. Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Like that whole conversation. Like there's definitely some great dialogue moments, but like a lot of that movie, and obviously Attack of the Clones as well, it's not a great. George Lucas is not the best at dialogue. He's not a dialogue master, right? He's not even like a directing master. He is a master of ideas and concepts. And I feel like what Hayden showed in this episode of Ahsoka is that with a great script, with a great director, a good to great director who knows how to direct his actors and stuff, mixed with great concepts and stuff, it's just like, this is what he could have been. This is what he could have been. As much as I love him from the prequels, this is what imagine this Anakin in the prequels. Absolutely phenomenal. And Hayden showed everyone, it wasn't my fault. I can act because, my God, this is like, I was hanging on every word. I was just like, dude, this is Anakin Skywalker right now. Like it was a perfect mix between what we saw of Anakin in the Clone Wars and obviously what we had of Anakin with Hayden Christensen's performance, his portrayal. It was just like, my God, man, like, could you just imagine? Because like Dave Filoni came in after the prequels, right? If I recall correctly, he came in after the prequels, or did he was like formerly, George's Padawan after the prequels when he started Clone Wars, I believe. But like, could you imagine the prequels? Can you imagine episodes 2 and 3, with Dave Filoni there to shape George's amazing, fantastic concepts and ideas into a great script, into, some great directing. Like, could you imagine that? My God, this is what you get. And this episode in general just further solidified in my mind that Dave should have been behind the sequels, dude. It should have been him. Like, I know now he's the creator. He has like, he's like the creative director. He's not quite in the Feige position, but he's definitely like a high end, creative person on like the team. I don't think he had much input in the Kenobi show, like, and it showed, right? Like I love Obi-Wan. I love that show for all the Vader and Anakin moments, but the stuff with Reva, she's just in the way. It just felt like a fanfic OC character that they didn't want to kill. They wanted her to get the happy ending where she gets to one-up Darth Vader. Yeah, Darth Vader. She got stabbed twice, once by Anakin, once by Vader. Oh, she's fine both times. And it's just redemption at the end. No, even though you tried to kill Luke, no, you're fine. Go ahead, live your life. It's just like it's just so. She was just in the way, even though that scene where Vader is absolutely humiliating her, man, doing all this sidestepping, kung fu, like ultra instinct moments. I can watch that 1,000 times, literally 1,000 times. But that show really highlighted that Filoni wasn't that part of it. That was more of a Kathleen Kennedy, Deborah Chow thing. This Ahsoka show, 100% unadulterated Dave Filoni. Right? This is his baby. This is his project. This is his, right? And he is showing everyone, I know Star Wars. I am the Padawan of George Lucas. He's Yoda. I'm Luke. He's Obi-Wan. I'm Luke. He's Qui-Gon. I'm Obi-Wan. Like, my God, this show, like, literally the only qualm I've had about this show was that third episode where it was, like, way too short. But that aside, this show is, like, if it keeps at this pace, if it keeps, with like the content, with just how much it feels like Star Wars, this is the most Star Wars feeling show we've had, and I'm including The Mandalorian as well. Like, this is true Star Wars right here. This feels like the sequels. I'm sorry, the sequels never really felt like Star Wars. They never they never captured, it. Like there's a certain Star Wars feeling that you just have. They didn't do that. This has this all the way through it, man. Ahsoka has it all the way through. This feels like, I don't know, like if Dave, I imagine making the show, Dave probably made some calls to George Lucas, like they probably talked for hours on like different concepts and stuff. But like this feels like George Lucas is here. Like this feels like George and Dave together doing this thing. To where like all the different ideas and stuff that George comes up with has met with Dave in this phenomenal mixture, and it's just, I can't sing this show's praises anymore. I can't. Like the Clone Wars flashback, dude, where we got to see little Ahsoka, and it really highlights like in that moment, because like the Clone Wars like animation style doesn't really how can I put this? It doesn't really relay just how young Ahsoka is. Like you get that she's young, but like it doesn't really highlight the fact that now this is a child soldier. This flashback in the Ahsoka episode, when you see that little girl, and I believe like that's the actress who played young Gamora in Infinity War, and she was in like the Barbie movie, right? But like this, when you see her, when you see how small and young she is, it really hits you. It's like, this is a child soldier. This is what the Padawans had to become, right? Like, this is messed up. Like, this is not what Padawans are not supposed to be soldiers. Anakin says, I have to teach you to be a soldier. Like, he can't teach her just to be a Padawan, just to be a Jedi. He has to teach her to be a soldier. And it's wild. It is messed up, and I love it. It's such a good, it's such good writing. It's such a good idea. It's like, dang, man. Like, I really felt that time. And, like, their conversation, by the way, him in the Clone Wars armor, my God. Like, the conversation definitely mirrors a conversation that they had in the Clone Wars show where, like, she's leading, like, a space battle and she gets a bunch of clones killed. And it was just, like, her dealing with that guilt. It's something that I'm so glad they touched on, because, like, you would definitely feel that, especially as, like, a little kid. Like 14 years old, you would definitely feel so much guilt. Like obviously, I'm sure, like, all the different Jedi, except for Punk Krell, they probably feel certain levels of guilt over, losing soldiers. But like, they're also at that point where, oh, this is war. This is what happens. I feel bad for these clones, but this is war. Like, we have to, as the lesson he was imparting on her, we have to live. We have to go on, right? But a child's not going to think like that. They're not. They're going to be hung up on every single clone, even the ones that you didn't know their name. If you only knew their number, you're going to feel that, because children latch on to things more than adults do. And I thought that was amazing. And one thing I really enjoyed about Anakin in this show, in this episode, is that I think metaphorically, not literally, he has taken the role of the father from the Mortis trilogy in Clone Wars, right? For the uninitiated, the Mortis was this whole, like, spiritual, deep dive into the gods of the Force. Like there was the son, who is the dark side. There is the daughter, who's like the light, and then the father is like the balance in between. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, they all go there and stuff, and like they meet with them. And the father wants Anakin to take his role, because he's the chosen one. He wants him to be the father. He wants to stay on Mortis, be the balance between the light and the dark. Anakin doesn't do it, obviously. But I think metaphorically in this episode, they show that this is really showing he is the balance. He is the balance between them. He's the father in that sense, right? Because when he first fights Ahsoka, he's got the blue lightsaber. He's using the light side. When he's fighting right at the end, he's using the dark side. Like, it was definitely reminiscent of that, where like he's showing her both sides that he's had to deal with. And, it goes back to the whole, it really helps her whole hang up about, well, if I learned everything from you, if everything from you is in me, I have your darkness as well as the light. I have the fact that you murdered younglings, that you were an evil tyrant for like 19 years, almost 20 years, like, it's so good. It's just so good, man. And honestly, even though I wanted more, I'm glad that that's it. The only thing I wanted more of, in terms of like conversation and dialogue, is just more of her dealing with the fact that he was Vader, and like getting to see, because we don't really know how she feels about his turn to the light at the end. Like, obviously, I imagine off screen, her and Luke maybe have talked about that, but I want to see it. Like, I want to see it on screen, how she feels about that stuff, Like, has she fully reconciled? I mean, I guess if you're looking at this episode and how she felt about, everything that is in him is in her, I guess she hasn't fully reconciled it yet, but like, I want to hear more about that. I want to see more of that. But that was it. I think, other than that, like, dude, phenomenal episode. Even the stuff with Jason, dude. Oh my God. I'm such a nerd, man. Because when Hu Yang told Carson, when he said, Jason has abilities. His father, Kanan Jarrus, was a Jedi. I'm such a nerd, and like, I've seen it with other people's reactions who have seen Rebels and stuff, is that just hearing the name Kanan Jarrus in live action, it just hits a certain way, dude. Like, I remember years before I watched Rebels, because I didn't watch it until like a couple years ago. I think I was hung up on the art style, and that it was a Disney thing. Now it was on Disney XD. I was like, it's just for kids. I don't want to watch this. But then I eventually watched it, and it's just like, bro, it's some of the best Star Wars, again, because it's Dave Filoni, and he's truly showing he's George Lucas's Padawan during this, man. This is all this great stuff, and Kanan Jarrus, an amazing character in that show. If you haven't seen Rebels, I highly recommend you go watch Star Wars Rebels. After this, I would say after this show obviously is done, and then you can recontextualize different things. You can rewatch Ahsoka and fully get it, everything with the Cargills and all that stuff. But Kanan was a character I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, and just hearing his name really, it's just so simple, but just hearing his name got me. I would love to see, like, I don't think we'll ever get it, but I would love to see Freddie Prinze Jr., because he voices him in the show in live action as Kanan, maybe in the same capacity as Anakin was this episode. It'd be chef's kiss, man. But yeah, man, I don't know what more I can say about this episode, more I can say about the show, other than we have 3 episodes left, right? That was episode 5. This is 8 episode season, and they ended it off with them, pulling a Finding Nemo, getting in the Cargill's mouth, Ahsoka and Hu Yang, in their ship, so that they can take them to that new galaxy, to the galaxy far, far away, where Thrawn and Ezra are. And obviously Baylan Skoll and Sabine and all them, they went to go get them in the hyperspace ring. Will next episode be the episode we get to see Thrawn? That's the question. Or will it be at the very end of the next episode? Because I'm so ready to see Thrawn. I'm so ready to see Lars Mikkelsen in live action as Thrawn. Because, like, I haven't seen Lars Mikkelsen in, like, anything. And if I have, I just didn't know it was him. Like, other than The Witcher. I believe he was in the first season of The Witcher. I don't know about the second season because I didn't finish it. Definitely didn't watch the third one. I heard that was, like, not that great. And, with the whole Henry Cavill thing. But I just want to see in live action. I want to see live action Thrawn. I'm ready, dude. Especially after reading the Thrawn trilogy of books. Not the old ones, not the Heir to the Empire ones, even though I do want to go back and read those one day. I read the new Timothy Zahn Thrawn books that the new canon ones. It was like Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn Treason. I want to go back and I want to read the Chiss Ascendancy trilogy, like showing his origins and stuff. But like after reading those Thrawn books, I have such a bigger understanding and appreciation of the Thrawn character, who up until then I just thought he was like, all right, he's just a very cool, smart, evil Imperial guy. That's all he is. No, he's not. He's much more than that, and I hope we get to see some of that in live action. Like, I hope the live action version of Thrawn is much more layered, like he is in the books, to where like he's not just evil, admiral. I just want to get a little bit more of him, like a little bit more of his character. But I can't wait for that. And honestly, man, I don't know how this is gonna end. I don't like. I imagine the ending of this is probably gonna be like, Thrawn and his army, kind of like hyperspacing in to frame, coming in, That's like the lasting. It's like the lasting image of the show is like Ahsoka and them looking up at his fleet coming in. It's just like, oh God, we're screwed. And that could lead into the Filoni movie, or even a second season of Ahsoka. Like I've heard that this might get a second season if it was successful, and by all accounts, it very much is. So we might get a second Ahsoka season before we get the Filoni movie, which I personally think is going to be called Heir to the Empire. It definitely should be. It'd be amazing. But yeah, man, I think this is definitely gonna. I think this show is definitely gonna end on like that. Oh crap, Thrawn is like fully back, and who knows, man? That's the thing. The most interesting thing about these last few episodes is like this new galaxy. What is this new galaxy gonna look like? This is the first time we're gonna venture outside of our main galaxy. We're going to a galaxy far, far away. What is it going to look like? What are the characters? What are the species going to look like? What are we going to see? What are the planet? Like, it's so much unknown. And that's what I appreciate about this show taking this direction. Because George Lucas, I recall him once saying, every time you do something in Star Wars, you should aim to do something new. And this is definitely, this is the newest thing anyone could do in Star Wars, right? Like, different things in Star Wars that we've seen, it's new things, right? Like, The Mandalorian, all that with, Grogu, that's a new thing. But, there's been nothing in the Disney era that has been this, earth-shattering new. I mean, I guess if you look at Rebels, the introduction of the World Between Worlds, that's definitely, groundbreaking stuff. But, going to a different galaxy in general is, that's the... if you told people back during the original trilogy that one day we're going to go to a different galaxy, they'd be like, what? No, that's ridiculous. Why would you ever do that in Star Wars? No, it's going to stay right in this one galaxy. But Dave Filoni, man, again, pupil of George Lucas, pushing that envelope, man. We're doing something new. We're going to a different galaxy entirely, and I could not wait for it, man. So, yeah. Ahsoka so far, if it sticks to landing, I honestly will say it's a better show than The Mandalorian. Just because of how much Star Wars it feels like. It feels so much like Star Wars. It feels like the original trilogy in a lot of points. So we'll see if it sticks to landing. I hope it does. I pray that it does, because Disney Plus tends to let me down quite a bit. More so with Marvel than Star Wars. Book of Boba Fett was fine. It had some good moments, but it's not the best. I really want them to do another season, so Boba can go back to being a full badass. I wanted that show to be like The Sopranos in space, but it just wasn't that. I want to redo for Boba. And Tamara Morrison keeps talking about how much he wants to do more stuff as Boba. Bring him back. Let him do something else, man. But I think Star Wars Disney Plus in general, it's been a lot better, a lot more successful than Marvel Disney Plus. Marvel Disney Plus is an absolute mess. That's a conversation for another day, which I actually did have that conversation on one of the first episodes of this podcast. I don't remember which. Don't ask me. Go look it up. But yeah, man. Star Wars Disney Plus is in a much better place. It's on a high right now. I just hope that the series, that the rest of these last 3 episodes does not bring it down. But anyway, man. That's all I have today. All right? I've gone nearly an hour here. But yeah, man. It was nice to get back on another episode of this Great Talkability, man. And who knows? Will I make this a monthly thing? Will I just do it whenever I feel like it and can? That's the joy of life, right? Just take it one day at a time. Just don't try to make rigid schedules when you can't. Just move freely, man. But anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in to Great Talkability. All right, remember, click that like button, subscribe, help get me to 200 subscribers here. Keep this train moving, man. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.